thank you for the job you do. Finally, I'm going to paraphrase this question because it is an important one. We've been contacted by Chris in Pimlico. He says, I'm blind. E-scooters and these rental bicycles are making me trip over. They're a serious hazard in London. Can you admit some of these pilots are failure really scrapper? I have to say, it's not just London, by the way, Chris. These are schemes run in other major cities and towns, and even I sometimes see that there can be an enormous obstacle. People just effectively hurl them where they want. Secretary of State.
Two different things. On the e-scooters, they're currently, except in the trial areas, you're not allowed to use them anyway. They're illegal. We're trialling them.
But there's 9 scooters.
Well, we just extended the scooter trial by a couple of years to collect some more evidence to see whether we should. And Chris has just highlighted there one of the challenges for people who are blind or partially sighted. So we want to collect more evidence to see what the legislation should be.
These poor souls are falling over them.
On cycling, no, you're right. People should be careful about where they put them. I'm always very conscious. I used to be the Minister for Disabled People, and people should be mindful of people like Chris who are blind or partially sighted, who need clear pavements and be able to get about safely. And people should be mindful of that when they are leaving the bike.
Hello, I'm Nick Ferrari, but unfortunately we can't bring you the current programme on LBC right now, but here's a repeat of Call the Cabinet from Nick Ferrari at breakfast. 2 minutes after 9 on Wednesday the 13th of December, and Call the Cabinet, we have the Transport Secretary Mark Harper in the studio.
Morning, Nick.
Of course, good to have you aboard, thanks for coming in. I was going to reference to Rwanda, but let's let Daniel in Golders Green do it, Secretary of State, because he's the first caller, and you're through to Mark Harper. Go ahead, Daniel, good morning.
Good morning, Nick, and good morning, Secretary of State.
Morning, Daniel.
Morning. Regarding the government's proposed Rwanda scheme, what I'd really like to know is that, given that it's already reported to have cost £380 million of our taxpayers' money without a single failed asylum seeker having been sent to Rwanda, in reality, how viable is the scheme itself in terms of seeing any failed asylum seekers actually being sent there? And secondly, given that the issue appears to have completely torn apart the government, the general election sort of on the horizon in the next year, in the next 12 months, how legitimate is the government still in terms of governing, and how do you think that the Prime Minister can deal with any rebellion?
Right, well done, Daniel, for crowbarring 3 questions into that. So let me deal with those, and not quite in the order you set them out. So the second one about the government, look, it's very good, speaking as a former government chief whip, to get a majority of 44.
You didn't have that nowadays, Mr. Harper.
I didn't have a majority that large when I was chief whip, so it was good to get the bill through on second reading, which is to establish the principle of the bill. But we've said we'll continue working with Conservative colleagues, and indeed anybody across the House that wants to improve the bill, as long as any of those amendments deal with fundamental things, which is keeping Rwanda on side and making sure the bill is consistent with international law, which is an important principle. But we'll listen to colleagues, and if anyone's got any ideas to improve the bill, what we won't do is allow any wrecking amendments like Labour's amendment yesterday. They don't have any ideas for stopping people crossing the channel or dealing with illegal migrants.
Well, we might refer to that because there was a continue
so that's on the point about the thing. And look, of course it's uncomfortable when people have different views, but what was clear yesterday was every single Conservative MP, not a single one opposed the bill, because every single Conservative MP wants to deal with illegal migrants and people crossing the channel and the organised crime groups, right? So that's why they supported or didn't oppose the bill. People have different views about how best to do that, but they all want to deal with it. On Daniel's first question about the scheme, the point of this scheme is not actually to send huge numbers of people to Rwanda, but it's to actually establish the principle: if you come here illegally, you can't stay. So you break the back of these organised crime groups and charge thousands of pounds to these migrants who are trying to cross the channel, put them at risk, put their lives at risk. They put them in boats that are barely seaworthy, which is why you see occasional tragedies. And there will be hundreds of people going to Rwanda in the first instance. It's uncapped, and obviously we'll then scale it up. But obviously what you hope to do is establish the principle that if you come to Britain, you can't stay. Once that is established, as we saw with the number of people coming from Albania, you can quite quickly rapidly reduce the numbers, and that's what we're hoping to achieve.
But last year, some 45,000 people made those crossings. I know the number is down significantly, and so we must celebrate that. But a few hundred as opposed to a figure of 20-something thousand, it's not going to make a huge difference.
Well, a couple of things. First of all, you're right to note that we actually reduced the number of people crossing last year by a third. And the reason why that's significant is because at the same time in other European countries, the number was going up, and in some countries as much as 80%. So actually to have a reduction of a third when the pressures elsewhere are going in the other direction is not an insignificant achievement. But the point of it is to establish the principle that if you come here illegally, you won't be able to stay. And once you establish that principle, quite rapidly, as we saw with the Albanian people, that suddenly meant that the number of people coming from Albania fell by 90%, and we're able to send them back very quickly. That's what we're going to establish here.
To Daniel's other point, you may well have indeed won a battle last night, but the war, of course, is still to come and probably kicks off again in the new year. How confident are you that you're going to win that?
Well, as I said, all Conservative people here will continue listening dark mushrooms as well. We'll continue listening to colleagues. If colleagues have got ideas about how to strengthen and improve consistent with international law and with keeping the land alongside, then we'll be clear that they want us to stick with international law. There's no point of having a bill without a partner country to send people to. So within those constraints, we've made it very clear New Secretary and the Prime Minister will continue listening to colleagues, working with them. Conservative colleagues want to try and get this done so that we can start moving people to Rwanda so we can break the back of it.
Lastly,
Lastly
on this, do you share the Home Secretary's confidence? He told me this morning he feels there will be people on flights to Kigali in close to the spring.
Yes, he made it quite clear, obviously it depends on the progress of legislation, but we want to get this on the statute book and then get those flights off as soon as we can so that we can then start changing the dynamic and break the back of those organised crime groups.
Daniel, thank you for your call. We're going to Caleb, who's in Pembrokeshire. Caleb, you're on the radio. Good morning. I spoke with you last week at the week before. Good morning.
Good morning, Nick, and good morning, Secretary of State. Hi there. Mine's a slightly complicated matter, so you can just bear with me for a second just to give you some context and preface my question then. So hi there. I'm a British national, first of all. I'm married to a Chinese national, and between us we both have a 3-year-old daughter named Arabella, who is also British. In March last year, we moved back to the UK after my wife's family visa was approved, and we entered using a cash savings route, which necessitated having $62,500 in our savings account. It was also subject to additional things like application fees from NHS or charges to NHS. I think all that goes to be around £3,750 worth. Since moving back, we bought our own house. We used cash. We didn't have a mortgage or anything like that. And we've also set up a business. We're completely self-sufficient, and my wife, it's worth noting, has no access to public funds.
What is your question, Caleb? This is, I sense about the new proposed legislation, is it?
It is. So my wife's visa is due to be extended in September 2024. Currently, the threshold for income is $18,500. But given the new 5-point migration plan, which was announced last week, it has been said that they're going to raise it to $38,500. Now, given that the national average is only $35,000 per year, it seems quite steep. So the question is, with that certainty, if my 3-year-old daughter Arabella faces the threat of losing her mother through deportation, if we fail to meet this threshold, and will the family raising policy apply to people who are seeking to extend their stay by applying retrospectively?
So, thanks for sorting all that out, Caleb, and I know why you do. I saw you that. But I think, first of all, on the retrospective point, my understanding is from what the Home Secretary said is that it's not planned to make it retrospective, and for any applications that are underway now, because the rules actually haven't changed yet, they'll be under the current rules, and I think we're proposing to set out, which I accept, we need to do it quite quickly to be able to reassure you, for existing people in the country, we're planning on setting out, I think, quite shortly what we're planning on doing. But I think
shortly?
Well, I don't know exactly, but we've set out quite shortly. But what we have said is we're not making it retrospective. But what I will do is I'll take the specific details that Caleb set out, and I'll flag those to the Home Office, Nick, and then we can get somebody to come back to you, and then you can update Caleb in due course.
Which is very much similar to what James Cleverly, because we did talk a little bit about this in the first hour of the show, Caleb, so very much what Mr. Harper said. If you stand the line and give your details to one of my colleagues, I'll make sure they get passed across to one of the Secretary of State's colleagues. My sense is, don't quote me, but I would think from what I'm hearing from both the Home Secretary and the Secretary of State opposite me, I think you're going to be all right with your wife, so hopefully that gives you some comfort. Alan, thank you. There you go. Go ahead, Alan.
From LGN, it's having a knock-on effect. LGN is stuck in unbelievable traffic. Businesses going bust day in, day out. People are not very shopping. Nurses and doctors can't get to work. I mean, they could go on and on. And you said you're going to do something about this. The economy is not growing, and London is literally standstill. I mean, it's literally hell out there. What are you going to do, and when are you going to do it, Mr. Harper?
What are you going to do about LTAs, traffic neighbourhoods?
Right. Well, I think you get two things there. So, first of all, on Longford, it's worth just saying, not to sound basic, it's just worth saying, responsibility for transport in London is devolved to the Mayor of London, and he takes many of the decisions about transport in London rather than me. So, I think some of the Caroline's points and judgments actually should be landed on him, which is one of the reasons I'm backing the Conservative campaign soon for I wish him up to focus on getting London moving. On the specific point about low traffic neighbourhoods, there's a couple of things there. For one of them, looking at the low traffic neighbourhoods, which the effective one may not be the effective one is to gum up traffic and stop people moving, which is why we are by department reviewing them. The Prime Minister asked me to, when we finished that review, because obviously a lot to do across the country, we would look to see if there's anything we can do centrally to get rid of one owned house public consent.
Could you override the Mayor of London in certain circumstances?
Well, I didn't want to make an answer without having looked at the details. We want to make sure that if there are low traffic neighbourhoods that don't have public consent, they never had public consent when they were introduced, we will look to see what measures we want to take. Across the country, we want to look at what the factors are before we set out what we're going to do. So we need to see how big a problem it is across the country. In London, the Mayor of London is primarily responsible for traffic. I think that the job of the person in charge of traffic is to help people move, to get about, to keep the economy moving. It sometimes seems that some people seem to try and gum things up, and that's why I think, frankly, London would be better off being Conservative Mayor. My job would be to get things moving.
Right. I mean, have you ever known traffic or travel across London as slow as it is now if you're in a motor vehicle? I've never, and I've been in and around the city most of my life, I've never known anything like
No,
that.
it is very difficult to get around, and I think most people across the whole country that drive, 60% of journeys by car, obviously more people in London use public transport, but lots of people depend on their cars, and I want people to be able to choose what form of transport they want to use, to get about, to do what they want, and the people in power should be trying to help them do that, not make their lives more difficult.
Caroline, watch this space. We'll stay close to this and see how we go. Now, when we started promoting the fact that you were coming on Secretary of State, we put it online as well. A lot of people got in touch with their questions. One was Mick, and Mick you'll know well, Mick Whelan.
Good morning, Minister. It's Mick Whelan, General Secretary of ASLEF. We've experienced nothing but bad faith since you took over. But we are willing to meet you any time in the next 2 weeks if you're willing to resolve the situation, and we look forward to hearing.
Mick Whelan is, of course, General Secretary of ASLEF, the Train Drivers Union. Just remind us, what are the points that are at issue between the two parties here?
When I first became Transport Secretary, I thought it was important to try and get better dialogue between the department and trade unions. I met all of them, and right now we've resolved the dispute on Network Rail, which has recently RMT put its payoff that was on the table to its members, and they overwhelmingly accepted it. So there's only one union that's going to speak, which are the train drivers, and it represents ASLEF, represented by Mick Whelan. There is an offer on the table. it would take the average salary of a train driver from an average of £60,000 for a 35-hour 4-day week to just under £65,000 for that 45-hour 4-day week. It's on the table. The table that everyone says I should get around, it's there. We're not going to throw more money at the train drivers. Nick Wheeler should take the offer that's on the table, put it to his members, and ask them if they want to accept it. He hasn't done that. I want train drivers to get a pay rise and to stop disrupting the railways. The railways are currently subsidised post-pandemic by the taxpayers. So what he's actually saying is the taxpayer, most of whom earn less than train drivers, should pay more of their money to give his members a bigger pay rise. There's a fair pay rise on the table. Take that.
And when did you last say that physically to Mr. Wheeler?
I met him a while back. He's the point is, I'm not negotiating with him. He's negotiating with the train operator.
Right.
There is an offer
But you
on the table.
today at the train station.
Yeah, no, I do. But there's an offer on the table. He needs to pick up the offer, put it to
But
his
when did you last
members.
physically see him?
And not for some time, because I'm not negotiating. No, this year, but I'm not negotiating. Right, so the whole point is, and when he says he wants to move, that's because he wants me to take more of your listeners' money and give it to his members, most of whom earn more than your listeners.
But if you are the BC, would you be ready to say, right, I'll tell you what, Mr. Wheeler, I'll come round next Thursday, I'll lay out where we are, and that's it,
Well,
let's have a meeting.
he knows where we are. There's a fair offer on the table. Your viewers and listeners need to just think about, do they think what I just set out is a fair pay increase? 4% pension, just under £65,000 a year for a 35-hour full day. I think that's fair for a rail system that's still losing money and is still subsidised by the taxpayer to a significant extent. I think it's a fair offer to all the other unions to put their deals to their members, all their members have accepted them. I met some train drivers recently when I was travelling, and they told me they want the offer put to them because they want to pay the rest. There's an aspect of them, as if train drivers had a long conversation with them and they want the offer put to them because they want to accept it and they want to pay the rest.
Let's stay with transport matters. Anushka in Hounslow, how concerned is the Secretary of State by the possibility of a Saudi state-backed consortium getting majority control of Heathrow Airport?
Well, I'm not the decision maker on these deals. There is a framework where ministers, the business sector, I think it would have to make a decision about.
But there are schools, that's
And there are legal things that they have to look at about whether that's appropriate. But on the face of it, the most important thing for me is that Heathrow is operated in a sensible way, continues being Britain's most successful airport, and it focuses on the day job, which
However,
I'm sure
Saudi's already
it focuses on the day job, which is making sure people can fly in and out of the country in as smooth and as sensible way as possible. You all know that post-pandemic aviation has actually bounced back. This summer was actually the busiest we've seen for people being able to fly, and we want to see them continue their
And you would be relaxing and clear all the hurdles with Saudi Airport.
It's got some, I don't have an issue with it, but you've got some legal things that have to be gone through. One of my colleagues in government has to look at it with a sort of quasi-judicial eye, and I don't want to prejudge the decisions they've got to make, because I don't know the details of who's planning on investing, etc., so I don't want to prejudge that decision. My focus is on its operational performance.
Michael's in Rains Park, you're through to the Secretary of State. Michael, your question. Good morning, sir.
Good morning there, Nick. Good morning, Secretary of State.
Morning, Michael.
Thank you for my question. To be clear, I am a Tory party member.
We found one. There we are. There's one out there still. On you go.
This isn't a political attack, but I am passionate about having smart motorways scrapped. So my question to you, Secretary of State, is do you have blood on your hands for not having the hard shoulders restored on former smart motorways? I know that you've said that you're not going to be authorising any more smart motorways, but will you have the hard shoulders restored on the current smart motorways? Because I believe smart motorways are responsible for over 37 deaths, unnecessary deaths.
So, Michael, what we said on smart motorways, and Nick has asked me about this before, so look, the position is this. They are actually, and the problem is not people don't believe this, they are actually the safest roads on the strategic road model. They are actually safer. Well, let me just finish, and then either you or Michael can come back short. They're safer than regular motorways. The fact is, though, people don't believe it, and drivers don't believe it.
So a smart motorway per mile is safer than, I'm going to call it a regular
decision that the Prime Minister and I took earlier this year was to say we won't build any new ones. If you build new ones, surely they can get you on that. They don't exist anymore. Well, no, because we think it's important we've got to have public confidence. The reason why we're not going to get rid of existing ones is what would then happen is you would reduce the capacity of the motorway network, you'd have more congestion, more difficulty for people to get back on. You'd also then push people off of motorways, which are the safest roads, onto roads which are not as safe as motorways, and that will be a retrograde step. So I think whether we've ended it up, which is not building any new ones, the other thing we're doing is we're spending a significant amount of money putting more emergency areas on motorways. So what's a significant amount? Over £100 million. So frequent places for people to stop. So although there's not a hard shoulder, there will be frequent emergency areas, so that if someone on a smart motorway needs to stop, there are frequent places they can do so away from the carriageway. We think that's the right balance to strike, given all of the constraints that we face.
Michael is a member of your party. Let's get a response. Quick one, if you would, Michael, from what you've heard from Mr. Harper. Michael.
Well, thanks a lot for your response, Secretary of State. I think they found in one study that 80% of the detectors on these smart motorways are not working accurately. And as you say, public confidence is key. And the public really has to be confident that you are not beholden to the contractors who have contracts, maintenance contracts, on these smart motorways.
Well, look, the smart motorways are managed by National Highways, which is a non-state body that works for the department, so there's no conflict involved in this at all. We looked at it really carefully this year, and as I said, the decision we made was to not build any new ones, stick with the ones we've got, but put a significant amount of investment into both making them safer, but also reassuring the public that they can use them safely. And I think that's the right balance to strike, given the facts of the position. But you've got to do two things. You've got to have safe roads, but you've also got to have roads that people have confidence in. And I think that's the balance we're trying to strike.
Michael, thank you. Lastly on this, the Daily Telegraph reported last month that the Department of Transport is yet to publish its annual smart motorways stock take. If that is the case, why? Or has it something to be published?
I think we're about to do that relatively shortly. There's no particular thing. There's a bunch of reports where we publish these things at a time.
Is this KSO a series of inputs?
Well, I have a whole bunch of things in there. I have some statistics here about safety and some other things about the operation of them, and things in the report are consistent with what I've just said.
All right, now then, Mr. Parker's email. We've referenced Christmas as regards to railways. What about Christmas travel chaos this year? What is the government going to do about our roads?
Right, well, some good news for Pam, for people that are driving home for Christmas or various other things. The National Highways, which run the motorways and the railways, the strategic rail network, from next Tuesday through to the 2nd of January, will go to 6 p.m. next Tuesday to 2nd of January, will be lifting over 1,000 miles of roadworks and road restrictions.
Or is this just on motorways?
On motorways and the bigger A roads.
Right.
So more than 98% of them will be completely free of any roadworks or things to get in the way of people being able to travel, to maximise the ability of people to use the roads over the Christmas and New Year period, so they can do whatever they need to, get home to see their families, get around to see friends.
Is this an
and have
annual
a nice
event, or is this the first time this
No, this is something that they do every year to try and make sure that, exactly as Pam's just said, that people travelling around for Christmas can get where they need to get to with the minimum of fuss. So I think that's a good news story. Over 1,000 miles of roads, free of roadworks, over 98% of the strategic road network, which hopefully should make it happy for better for all of the drivers in the country.
Is there any signs that they are doing?
The agreement we have with them is that they have to reply to our suggestions within a month. I think you have to keep in mind that the incentives here are very strong for Method to try to deal with this in a productive way. If Method becomes a platform known for leaks or unreliable, completely unreliable information, that's not something that's going to be good to the Meta brand, to the Facebook brand. And so they are, I'm pretty sure that because of those incentives, they're going to try hard to do this. They also face the issue of transparency and being able to locate fakes or AI-generated images is hard to do because everyone has and will have the software and fact, this struggle has been going on for some time, even before generative AI really took the leaps it has taken in the last years. So it's been a struggle, and I think what we were trying to say to them was we have to do better.
So in terms of this new software that they're developing to try and label images that are generated by AI, how will that work? Because you just explained that it's going to be very difficult.
Well, I don't know the technical details of
But I suppose, is it possible?
Yeah.
Is it at all, is it even possible? Because as soon as you've created some technology that might be able to detect something that's been generated by AI, doesn't the technology move on so quickly that you're always catching up?
Well, we have to remember that this was a platform for 3.5 people too also, so that many of the challenges connected to these issues of content moderation are connected. The other have every platform in a way that users want. They don't want violent images. Look at the rules that Meta has for that platform. They really reflect, I think, what users want. And so they have every reason to keep it that way. But it's very hard, and also evasions of the rules and evasions of Meta trying to enforce the rules are a constant problem because people, and in particular, I think with some of the most dangerous elements, also can, in some cases, not a large number of cases, in some cases, be technically proficient. But those are different issues than what we're talking about. We're talking about the legal content there, and I think both law enforcement and strive very hard to stay on top of that. What we're talking about is images that don't necessarily break the rules, but are also not real. We're talking about generative AI, and the developments that we will see in that are going to be great. So what is desired here is linking, that is to say that telling you that this image came from AI rather than, say, a photograph. Now, some experts believe it's going to be hard to detect all of these because of the nature of technology. That's certainly possible. And I think the problem here is, first of all, is that if the rules are violated in a severe way, AI images, address violence, incite violence, or discrimination, or the things that are completely banned by Meta, they will be taken down whether it's generated by AI or not. The rules are rules.
I think sometimes people feel that sometimes those rules, that those rules, but sometimes Meta might not be quick to act on those rules.
Yes, and some people believe that's for business reasons. I personally don't believe it because it obviously hurts the brand. So with a company like Meta, the brand is extremely important. The serious problem here is the one I mentioned earlier, and a little outside Meta was one of the millions. They have literally millions of questionable kinds of posts that they have to pass judgment on every day. And they have to do that with machines that are imperfect, and that's going to continue to be the case. The danger is it will become even more so with generative AI. The machines they use to find the material that has to be taken down or labeled, they have to sometimes put behind the screen. It's just very the difficulty of the task is hard because of its sheer size. I think the question will be in the future is how well they do in keeping up with the challenges, but they do have every incentive to do so. Keep the name clean, the platform in good, good reputation.
Other experts have said that the software that Facebook is developing will be too evasive, won't be able to detect AI images. What do you say to that?
Well, I think that's possible. I don't think we know yet. Meta has its own AI system, which is, I mean, one of the advantages of that is it's publicly available. It's not treated as proprietary elements. So, in fact, perhaps people will be able to use that to create things that might help Meta. But I don't think we should pretend that it will be easy or that we know the future.
And do you think specifically Facebook should be maybe modifying their rules on all of their social platforms under the umbrella of Meta, should be modifying their rules, changing their rules to deal with these AI generated images and AI on their sites?
I think that was part of the question that came out of the case we've been talking about. And the rules can change over time. As you go forward, part of the issue of dealing with these challenges, judged from AI, is going to be changing the rules to update them in ways. But that has to come out of experience as well as just you can't do it all on the front end. The other thing I would keep in mind here is Meta, is the answer in this sense, because it's hard to see who else the government's interests and who else is going. The point is what we did, which is to keep urging them to go forward.
John, thank you. That's John Samples, Vice President of the K-Tech Institute and also serves on that Facebook oversight board. Let's bring in our guests, Stephanie and Christina. I'm assuming that you are Facebook users, Instagram users. Stephanie, first of all, do you feel comforted by the fact that Meta will be labelling images in the coming few months that have been generated by AI?
Yes, absolutely, Sam. It is something that I've been calling for. I set up a charity in Singapore specifically to combat online harm. It is a very big issue, this deepfake thing, but I don't think you could just demonize one platform. It's great that you're doing this, but I think that we actually need to have laws, international laws, where deepfake creators, people using generative AI in any content, are required to watermark that, and then the platforms also are required to have that labeled. The thing is, when you go after one platform like that, you forget about all the other platforms who are less responsible. Telegram, nobody can reach them, you know who the owners are, and that's a very big channel for a lot of misinformation. I actually think that we need to have laws and that governments need to get together to come up with a framework.
That takes so long though, doesn't it? And this technology is going ahead at such speed.
Yes, technically that's that reason. We need to get the platforms because they're the ones at the forefront of the technology.
Christina, what do you think? Are you comforted by what Meta is doing in labelling these AI-generated images?
Absolutely. And this is a critical time to be doing this because this is a very important election year in so many places around the world. And so to combat disinformation, or at least try to, is critically important.
Okay, we'll move on and have a chat about Boeing now and the Alaska Airlines plane, which you'll remember experienced a blowout mid-flight last month. Now, investigators have found a door panel which flew off the Boeing jet, the 737 MAX, appeared to be missing 4 key bolts, and that's according to the National Transportation Safety Board's preliminary report, which was out on Tuesday. Here's the BBC's business correspondent in New York, Erin Delmore, with more details. About the door plug that flew off the Alaska Airlines jet just after the plane took off from Portland on January 5th. And when we talk about a door plug, we are talking about a door that plugs up in emergency exit, not and there are 4 bolts that hold that door in place. So this is about those bolts. Investigators in this preliminary NTSB report said that the bolts were missing before that January 5th plane door blowout. And the crucial
official news here is that it looks like the plane left the Boeing factory without having those bolts in the door plug. So when you take that all together, this is the most official investigation that we have yet that squarely puts the focus and the blame here on Boeing. And it's also the most information that we have, the most detail that we've gotten about what's happened that caused this really arresting accident.
This is the first time that misdrilled holes or missing bolts has been up for discussion when it comes to Boeing, because they've been checking planes that are either being ordered or being used by different airlines at the moment. And again, those same questions have come up.
Right, exactly. This is about the holes that Boeing has said they found might not have been drilled exactly to their requirements. The holes are where the bolts go into to secure this door plug. And it's news because Boeing said the problem could actually force the company to go back and do more work on about 50 of their planes. And that means that planes don't go out into delivery, they don't go out into circulation, and they don't go to the airlines that want to fly them. It also means that some of these issues are more pervasive than just what we saw on January 5th. It's worrying for Boeing, it's worrying for the supplier.
And earlier today, the head of the Federal Aviation Administration raised questions in Congress. Tell us about that.
Right, that's Mike Whitaker. He's the top official at the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration. And he was in front of Congress today. This was a big focus. And the real question is, what is the FAA doing to talk about Boeing's process, the regulation, and their safety standards? So what he said is, going forward, we'll have more boots on the ground closely scrutinizing and monitoring production and manufacturing activities. To that end, he said that they've sent about 24 inspectors to Boeing, another half a dozen to Spirit, and he said that they've also opened an investigation into how Boeing's implied